So this is your fourth mixed martial artist fight. Is it starting to feel a bit more normal now? I spoke to you before your first fight. How's it feeling now during fight week?
Yeah, it definitely feels a little bit more normal. I know what to expect a little bit more. It's still a little crazy. Fight week is just, there's so many different things going on. I think a lot of people from the outside looking in, they just see the fight, right? Maybe they watch the weigh-in or whatever the case may be, but there's a lot that goes into it, Even just what we're doing right now, what I mean? I just did my weight cut a few hours ago. Now I'm doing like interviews and things like that. There's a lot of media involved, taking photos and all that stuff. All that stuff goes along with while I got to train to prepare for the fight during the fight week. So I got to find time to do that. I got to find time to do all the social media stuff. I got to find time to make sure I'm eating the right thing, like find places to eat the right things for my weight cut and things like that. Grocery stores and all these things. It's almost like I'm, learning a brand new area every single time I travel to one of these places. And, especially Japan, I only was here once for the press conference for a couple of days. So it's not like I'm acclimated. I know what I'm doing. Like I've been to Singapore a bunch of times. I kind of get the gist of it. I kind of got a little bit of a handle on stuff, but here it's like all brand new. I got to figure out what I'm doing. So super hectic week, but at the same time, yeah, I would say it's definitely getting a little bit more normal, a little bit more comfortable. The fight prep feels more normal, but I wouldn't say that it's still like I'm at ease yet. It's not like it's like second nature, the whole fight prep thing yet, but we're getting there. We're working towards it.
How do you find the time? You seem to find the time to fit in a lot of things.
Yeah, I work I would say relatively close to a 16-hour day. I mean, there's a lot of times that is transit. Like I drive a lot to get to New York City, so a lot of it's travel time. But yeah, I train all day, and then I travel back to my academy and I teach and everything. But with having ADHD and everything like that, it kind of just keeps me a little bit more organized in a way because I have like a regimented routine every day and I'm always moving. When I have downtime, it's more destructive than anything else. So I like to just constantly stay active, and then when it's all done, I go to sleep and get up and do it again. And I don't know, for some people maybe that would be very overwhelming, but for me, I kind of like need my brain engaged. A good example I could give you is growing up, I played baseball a lot. And there was a lot of different positions in baseball that you could play. They'd put me like in the outfield and stuff, and I'd be, kicking dirt and looking up at the sky, and like, because you're not involved in every play, right? It's only if it gets hit in your direction. Once I started playing catcher in baseball, all right, the ball's always coming to me every single play, and it was much better. Like I could pay attention, and it was so much easier for me. Not really a popular position that a lot of people like, but for me, it worked great. So similar thing in life. I very much like to be actively involved all the time. I don't like that much downtime,
And going back to your first point about normal, is the idea for the fight to feel normal, but then the training to be outside your comfort zone?
There's always a mix, right? Like your training can't be so comfortable that you're not getting better. You have to push your limits. I think John, he uses a rubric for like elite level training, and I can't remember the exact stats, but I want to say it's something like 60% of the time like you're feeling uncomfortable with whatever it is that you're training or doing, or whatever the case may be. You're trying new things and it's difficult, or you're struggling at least 60% of the time. Now that's an arbitrary number for most people. I mean, you're just kind of like throwing that out there, right? I think that's based off some study somebody did, but regardless, I would say more often than not, you're miserable, all right? You're having a tough time. But yeah, there's a certain amount of it that needs to feel comfortable. But you do all of that to make the fight feel more comfortable, right? Like I talked a lot about prior to this fight, watching Anthony Engelen head kick somebody in the head and watch them die in the middle of a ring, basically. And that's scary. Like, I mean, a lot of people just look at that and they're like, oh yeah, whatever, I'm not scared of that guy. Like, dude, that's terrifying. John sent me a video of head kick knockouts, and it's just like 10 minutes of dude just getting hit and the lights are off, hit and the lights are off. I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like MMA is scary, man. That's so scary. So to make that a little less scary, like the training is the only way to make that happen. Like a lot of people, oh, how do you deal with anxiety and nerves and all these things? It's like, you just gotta practice. Like that's the only true thing that will actually help you deal with anxiety and nerves, right? Like, people talk about developing confidence, but like confidence without preparation is just complete delusion. I posted that the other day. I mean, anybody who just walks into a situation confident without preparing for it is completely insane. And why would you be confident, you know? So the fear and the anxiety drives me to help me prepare more and more for whatever that situation is. So because this fight seems more scary to me, I prepared even harder than I did previously. You know, whether that be more studying, whether that be adding in Muay Thai training sessions and stuff with guys that are kicking me more, taking me outside my comfort zone, stuff that I'm not normally doing. Whatever that means for me in that particular moment, that's what I'm doing, so that when I get out there in front of thousands of people, you know, I'm not pissing my pants quite as bad as I would if I wasn't prepared.
I was going to ask you, I get the feeling you're a guy who likes to study their opponent, break down their game. Is that true?
To a certain degree. I like to study. So far, I haven't done crazy amounts of studying of my specific opponents. The reason that is I don't want to get too overwhelmed with the short-term goal of beating my opponents. Yes, it's very important. Each opponent that I have is a very real threat and a milestone that I need to accomplish in my fight training to be able to, continue to climb this ladder as far as becoming one of the world's best mixed martial artists. However, my goal is in the future to become one of the greatest mixed martial artists, right? A lot of times with my students, because I coach Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I tell them not to try to become the best blue belt in the world, not the best white belt in the world. You want to be the best black belt in the world, right? Like, that's where your head should be at. If your headspace is at, let me be the best blue belt in the world, you're only going to be able to develop skills that will help you beat up blue belts. But those skills may not transfer over at a world-class level or black belt level or whatever the case may be. So you may be training and doing things that are completely useless, right? So if I just specifically prepare for certain opponents, there's going to be certain things that I might get away with for those opponents that I won't get away with when I'm dealing with the absolute best in the world. No, I'm not saying that Anthony's not a real threat. He is. He's the scariest guy that I've encountered so far in my mixed martial arts career. But what I'm saying is like, he's not George St. Pierre. Let's put it that way. Okay? He's not the absolute best in the world. And that's my goal, is to make sure that I'm going to be able to beat that guy one day. That's the most important thing to me, not necessarily just the guy in front of me.
I think that's the mindset that is going to get you where you want to be in the future. I think that's why a lot of people are complimenting you on your MMA journey so far. Now, this is your second featherweight contest.
Yes.
How was it the first time? How's it going this second time?
So the weight cut is a little bit more regimented now. Now I'm confident. Like the last time I made weight, so I know that I can make weight, right? Previously, I wasn't so sure. Like, it was kind of roll of the dice. Like, I thought I could. I did some tests and I prepared to the best of my ability, but you don't really know until you actually try, right? And so having made weight before and making hydration and everything like that gave me confidence moving into this fight and a little bit more knowledge about, what weight I needed to be leading up to the fight and everything. It was still hard, like still a tough weight cut and everything. I definitely don't think this is like an easy weight class for me to make or anything like that. But I was more prepared because I just was going in with more knowledge and more understanding about what I was doing and how the organization works. So I feel very comfortable with this weight class. This is where I want to stay. I know one day there's a lot of guys that are being signed at 170 right now that I would love to fight. So I know one day I will be back in that weight class for sure. I think it would be bad for my career if I didn't do that at some point. But I think for my current time in mixed martial arts, my focus should be win that 55-pound title, or whatever, 70-kilo title, however you want to put it,
What are your thoughts on the rest of the card? What's it like to be on this historic card?
It's amazing, man. This card is even more than what I would have imagined it to have originally been. I wanted to get on the card for so many reasons. First of which, them doing this for the first time in Japan, and that was even enough for me. I have a lot of Asian fan base, a lot of Japanese fan base, I believe, because I've competed in jiu-jitsu against a lot of really great Japanese mixed martial artists and grapplers. And I've always just wanted to kind of compete in Japan. So that was like a big thing for me. But then they brought in Demetrius Johnson, Eddie Alvarez, and this lineup of, Yachts and Clyde. They got just legends from all different kinds of sports. And it's really, it's a monumental thing, to be honest, being a part of this event. And that's why I didn't take another fight right away. I just wanted to make sure that I was healthy for this event. I'm glad that nothing crazy happened during fight camp that, derailed me and, I didn't get seriously injured and couldn't do this fight or anything. So I'm super excited about that. I'm feeling like full health at the moment, probably more so than any of my other fights. And I think it's just going to be really exciting. There's a lot of pressure. That's another thing. Like, sure, I have a really scary opponent ahead of me, but it's a really scary challenge to be competing in front of. This will be the biggest audience, right? From a standpoint of the types of people that are on this card, it is going to draw a lot more eyes than previous cards for one championship. So it's even more pressure, even more anxiety, which was even more incentive to really make sure that I got my stuff together for this particular match, you know?
Lastly, you said Anthony's probably your scariest opponent so far. And before I spoke to you for your first and second fight, you were spot on with your prediction.
Sure.
Do you have a prediction for this one?
Yeah, I believe this time, because I view my opponent as much more dangerous, I will be putting a lot more pressure. I don't see me using much of a distance game like I have in some of my previous fights, where I kind of floated around my opponents and I haven't really like pressed them hard to the cage until I really wanted to. I think I'm going to put a lot more pressure on Anthony than previous fights. So you're going to see me fight a pressure fighting game, and that will result, I believe, in most likely a TKO in the first or second round, but possibly submission, depending upon what he gives me.
Brilliant. Looking forward to it.
Yes, sir.
As ever. Thank you very much.
Thank you.